Sorry. Oh no. Sorry.
I'll be a little bit up.
Yeah. Okay.
Alright, so this sequence is the second of the Surya Namaskar practices, and it basically has two extra poses. It has Utkatasana at the start and the finish, and then from dog pose we move into warrior one on each leg. So it's a very simple sequence, a little bit of a variation and slightly more strenuous on the legs than Surya Namaskar 1. So we start at the front of the mat. Everything's going to be the same. But we're squeezing the ankles in towards each other a little bit, as if just holding onto the midline. And then Samana Vayu begins in the lower belly. It's just a slight beginning. As soon as it begins, you'll feel the shins start to go forward somewhat. You can see there's not a lot of change in the back, but something is sort of going backwards in the very deep belly. You'll sort of hit a sticking point here, and then we can take the arms down, and the hips follow the hands to some degree. As the hands come up, the hips go up 1 millimetre, and then as they brush forward, we're really going to let the shins go forward and sitting back, keeping the ribs in. So don't split the body here. Keep the ribs in and the eyes only. Look up at the hands, but not the ribs. Utkatasana. Squeezing the inner ankles together just to keep square in the foot weight. And then we fold as normal into Uttanasana. We move through the salute as normal, all the way to dog pose. Find our way into dog pose. We're going to work with diagonals. So the leg that will move is the right leg. So we make the left foot heavy and the right hand heavy as a diagonal. The right foot then naturally comes in. It goes out parallel. Don't overdo this. And we're going to lift the left heel to throw the foot effortlessly forward, and then place that other foot a little bit up, not too far, 45 degrees. Put your belly on that side of the leg. So you're very squared and the shin is perpendicular. That's the important thing. So you're setting up the legs here. You can check that you're setting them up because you don't need your hands. Now, what has to happen is that this back ankle has to yield. It yields, and then we can basically just use the power of the legs to right the torso. But the legs aren't going to change at all. Keep yielding the back ankle. This leg slightly inwardly rotates. And we try and come to upright. That can take a while to find. Keep yielding the back ankle. Keep letting this leg roll under. Sometimes you need to slightly tuck your belly into yourself, not from here. Just a sense of gathering at the front to be right on top of the pose. Let the hands hang. Happens the same as for Utkatasana. As the hands come up, there's a little bit of upness in the pelvis, 1 millimetre. As the hands go forward and clasp the air like a sword, you sit down on the pose a little bit. Virabhadrasana 1. Coming down. Work our way back through the normal salute pattern to dog pose. This time the left leg will move, so the heaviness will be in the right foot and the left hand. This diagonal creates the softening in the left leg. It goes out but not too high. And we just lift the foot, the heel up at the back, and we end up the right distance. So the belly needs to square up over the thigh. And then we can get rid of our hands and check. Perpendicular shin if possible. And we begin by yielding the back ankle. And through that power of the inner leg, we bring the torso up without changing anything in the back. That back leg inwardly rotates somewhat. And we look for the position directly on top of the pelvis. Sometimes we need to kind of bring the inner legs and tuck them into the belly to find square. We have the legs set up, just really strong. This is not a stretch, we don't need to stretch outrageously. The ankle is actually stretching, funnily enough, or working, if you like. Exhaling, hips go down, hips come up a millimetre. Hips sit back, so you're sitting your left thigh and buttock a little bit back into Virabhadrasana. 1. And down. Move back all the way to Uttanasana. Neat Uttanasana. And then the final pose is Utkatasana again, which is really our normal transition that we always do, sort of frozen in time. Utkatasana to finish the sequence.